Yo guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Today I wanted to share some of my spiritual ideas with y'all. So I'll be telling you about my, not really belief, but knowing in God and how I arrived there, and explain how the Trinity of God works the way I see it. So this type of video could throw someone into an existential crisis. It might make certain Christians a bit upset, but the point is, no matter who you are, it is to trigger you into spiritual awakening. All right, so this Trinity of God, I think almost no one understands, and honestly most Christians don't understand it. And I think it's because of this not so helpful way of describing it as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because this is again going to make people look for God as something outside of themselves. You know, someone that's aware of the Christian lore will be like, well, the Father, that is this all-seeing, almighty sky daddy up above, you know. And the Son, well, that must be Jesus, right? Yet another thing outside of myself. And this Holy Spirit, I don't even understand it at all or something, but clearly another thing, some invisible thing outside of myself that is also part of God. And a better way of describing this would be to say the parent, the child, and the Holy Spirit. Because guys, all of us here are sons and daughters of God. Jesus was just one of us that happened to be extremely enlightened and set an amazing example for how you should be and act in this world. He's not someone that you should get down on your knees and please by praying and worshipping. No, he just showed you the way, right? So I'll go on and elaborate on this, the Father, the Son, or the child, and the parent, and the Holy Spirit. But let me just tell you how I arrived there. So I was always a hardcore atheist, you know, being brought up in a very secular country like Sweden, and then just having traumatic life experiences early on. You know, I was, of course, I had to deal with my crap too, but what I think of mostly is, you know, I have a little brother who's autistic, quite autistic, and just seeing early in my life how much he struggled from that, from something he was born with that he had no choice in, and how much the family struggled from that. It's like, how could ever a loving God know that they just can't be, you know, he wouldn't do it like that. And of course I don't know it then when I'm an immature little kid, but I'm of course playing God, saying that I know best how things should be. So I'm gonna go on, but look guys, I'm not religious, okay? That's something that's very difficult for a lot of atheists to grasp. When you talk about God, they assume you must belong to some religion. I don't, okay? Because I found God through my experiences on earth. I found God on the inside, and the way I found God and how I used to be, it's just impossible for me to believe into any of these religions, because guys, the way I see it, all of these are different paths, different interpretations, different attempts to guiding you to the same thing, which is God. But some things I talk about here will probably when I talk about my spirituality and belief or knowing in God, probably things that remind you of Buddhism and Christianity, what you will hear the most. But so this concept from Christianity about the fallen state, you know, we're fallen. What that means, guys, is that we're born into this world pure, or we come into this world pure, I should say. I mean, when you're physically born, sometimes your parents were so messed up that you're fallen already then. But basically, you are pure, coming into this world, and then you pick up on all this baggage, luggage, programming from the world, you know, ideas and beliefs about who you are, how you should be, how you need to act in order to be worthy of love, and things you shouldn't do because then you're not lovable or you'll be in danger, and all this, right? And this collection of programming is who you think you are. No, I'm just this guy, I'm this age, I like these things and this thing, I don't really like this thing, and this is what I want, and that's just who I am. But it's not really, guys. That's just your current way of functioning and operating in the world. And this kind of cloud of programming makes you blind to who you really are. And so how I discovered this was that when I went on, you know, I had those panic attacks that I told the story about so many times. Former Theo, skinny fat loser, hedonist, nihilist, atheist kind of guy, starts having those panic attacks. And he had been living in a cloud of all his programming, right? But what happened was this panic attacks, it's the most strongest of this kind of thing. I'm saying like a program. You're entirely, when you're having a panic attack, you're almost entirely a fearful animal trying to survive, right? So it was as if when I'm thrown into this most extreme state, when I come out of it, it's like I get a relief from all of it, and I have a chance to discover a presence I've never noticed before. It's like I see who I truly am beyond all these ideas and things that I've had. I start to realize the way I've felt, about me and the world, it's not really who I am. The stories I tell about myself and the world and why everything is so terrible and miserable and that's not really who I am either. I'm just the one that had to experience all those things, but I'm not really, that's not really who I am. So guys, I didn't understand that it was God first. It was something that came to me later on, like, oh, this is what I'm starting to notice here, right? And so this universe, guys, because I think the duality of this universe is much easier to understand than this Trinity that we'll get to. But guys, our universe is very much a universe of duality. Like when you just look into where everything exists on a spectrum, or like in contrast to something else, as two poles, masculine, feminine, darkness and light, day and night, darkness and light, day and night, right? But wet, dry, hungry, full, like everything is right? But so the universe is, everything here is connected. But in order to have this experience that we're having, like even that you're watching me talk on this video, that I'm walking around like here, there must be a perceived separation of all these things that really all belong together and exist in relationship, right? Everything in this universe exists in relationship. And that's how the third little aspect comes in here. Because, if we go back to the Christian now, framework of Father, Son, or parent, child, and the Holy Spirit. Well, who is the parent then? Who is the parent? Well, that is the awareness, the observer, the consciousness, right? I think it's from Christianity too, probably the Old Testament, when God said, before everything was, I am. That just being, observing, seeing, awareing, that is God, that is the Father, the observer within, right? And so the Son, that's just a little vessel. That is separate little aspect of the divine. So the Son here, it's you, or the daughter, if you're a girl watching, or Theo, the son, right? So the Father observes the universe through the eyes of the Son. But so how do we get to the Trinity? What's the third aspect here? Well, do you realize, I'll start here. Do you realize that in a relationship, think man and wife, there are three aspects? Think about it a little bit. What is the third one? Because two are quite obvious, right? Well, in a relationship, there's a me and a you, but there's also an us. An us. And that's what the Holy Spirit is, guys. What I've realized is that the Holy Spirit is when you find perfect alignment between the Father and the Son, or the parent and the child, right? Because there is this awareness, all-seeing awareness, that is inside all of us. And it's when you notice that awareness that you can actually start changing and wake. That's a spiritual awakening. Just notice it. Do you know that we talk about AI becoming self-aware, guys? Well, we are the AI that has become self-aware. When you realize that I am aware, I am awake, there's something beyond all this that I've been doing here all the time. That's just something I've been observing. There's actually another component here, and that when you wake up like that, now is when you can actually change, right? You can rise up from the fallen state, right? So, still though, because you're operating a unique little aspect, because that would be the case otherwise. If everyone managed to become like fully enlightened, everyone would lose their personality, right? Because that was just all programming, right? And it's like, the true essence, that's the Father there. But it's kind of like saying that, what's your example? Your Formula 1 driver drives these racer cars. It's like saying that just because he is good at racing like that, he should be able to drive a little shitty Toyota the way he drives a Formula 1. Because, it's the same driver. No, but he'll probably drive it more skillfully, but he'll still have to work with the vehicle he has, right? So it's the same for us here. That when you have to accept that, okay, I am operating a certain, not just body, but actually personality, psyche, with certain traits, So even if I get connected to the Father, I'll still have this unique little vehicle to operate through. And so what I've noticed, guys, is that when I feel the most aligned in my life, that's when I both feel the most like myself and like the most detachment to myself ever, you know. I'm walking around, I'll make videos, I'll be very much using Theo's mannerisms, you know, make jokes he thinks is funny and everything like that. At the same time, I'm very, very detached from Theo and his little ego and emotions and feelings in general. And the same thing, in that state, if I come upon something that's like triggering to Theo, that I know Theo hates, he's annoyed by, he really hates this kind of situation or this thing, I can be like, ha 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 ha, Theo hates this, ha ha ha. Sucks to be you right now, Theo, because I'm just looking at you, you know, I'm just observing you, you know. There's this perfect alignment when I get the full experience of being Theo, expressing Theo fully. At the same time, I'm very detached from who Theo is, right? So yes, there's so many. I notice I've gone over 10 minutes. I notice how many more things I want to tell you in this video. Well, we can return to this. I'll be very interested to hear your comments. But guys, this is sort of how life is supposed to look like, you know, that you're born and you fall away from God. You have, for some people, it's a slower and gradual spiritual awakening, but for a lot of people, you know, that's the thing for Buddhism, right? Suffering is the sole origin of consciousness, because, you know, as long as everything is nice and comfortable enough, you don't really have to be so very aware and conscious. But it's like when you can't stand what's going on, that's when you have to wake up. You have to think differently, and that's often when you find these things, right? So you get born, you fall away, and then when you have that initial awakening, it's like you've started. Imagine a dimmer on a light. Now it's been turned on, so the light is on. Now, gradually turning that light up, so we see more and more. Now that you know that so many things that you thought were you weren't really you, they're just functions of your vehicle here. Now you can observe, you can notice and catch patterns and mechanisms, and now, that's the Holy Spirit. That's why it's a Holy Spirit, because what is not in this physical world influences the physical world, you know. It really now truly operates through your vessel, right? So the more and more you discover about your unique little vessel here, the more layers you peel, the more closer to your true self you come, and true self-expression, right? So that's pretty much your goal in this life, guys, to have that initial awakening and then just keep waking up and strive to be as close to the Holy Spirit as possible, because it's about balance. It's about finding balance, guys. It's always the golden average. That's what you should see the Holy Spirit as. It's like when the union between the masculine and feminine, it's going to be a toxic relationship for someone unless you reach a perfect golden average in your relationship, right? And it's like that with balance always. If you don't find the perfect spot, you're going to fall in either direction. So that is really your quest, guys. I'm just thinking, because there's so many things I want to tell you guys, and I want to I'm so fascinated by all these things. But it's interesting, guys, because now, you know, we're gonna fall out of alignment many times, right? And this is part of the work to know what makes me fall out of alignment. What do I do then? What do I have to watch out for? You know, how can I get back? These are the things all the times, guys. So I'll tell you one last thing before here. I went to a beautiful place to record. I'm so happy with it, you know. And one thing I just know that Theo hates is these loud noises from machines in places where they don't belong, like in the forest, you know. And so, of course, this guy had to show up to cut the grass, you know, making loud noises. So that my studio I was going to use for this video is now ruined. But I know that if I don't watch Theo now and let his ego run wild, well, first of all, I'll be thinking nasty things and blaming this guy that's just doing his job. Of course, that won't have any effect on him now, but in a similar spot, that, you know, if something else triggers me when I'm actually involved with a person, I'm going to be nasty to someone that doesn't even deserve it. Also, if I just indulge in this, I'll just be annoyed. I'll not be able to record a good video. Anyway, the sooner I can just be like, okay, Theo fucking hates this, haha, let's go to another place, you know, the better. Funny that happened, the other things that got in the way of recording a video on the way, so I had to really practice this, like, don't fall into angry trigger Theo, like, oh, why is the timing always against me, and just laugh it off, get back to the Holy Spirit, share the message with the guys. So that's it for tonight, now guys, for now. We'll follow up, more videos on God and all the good stuff, and please like and comment. You help me a lot coming up with where to take these videos next, so please let me know what you think. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, you know. Body, mind and soul, jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually. That's what I coach. So if you're interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below, and I'll get back to you, telling you about my different programs. If you just want to support me and my content, you become a Patreon, a member of the channel, or leave a little super thanks comment. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. God is inside you. Find that alignment. And by the way, buy my bodybuilding book. Peace.